Willie D. Live.
What's up, family? The mysterious death of Nolan Wells continues to generate intense public scrutiny. In recent weeks, questions have shifted from the circumstances surrounding his death to the handling of the body. Joining me today is comedian, funeral director, and mortuary expert, Shula King.
What's good?
Hey, Is.
How you doing, bro?
Man, I'm all right. I can't call it. I might stall it.
Yeah.
How you doing, man? How you doing?
Bro, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm just here to make some clarifications, bro. I'm glad you hit me up, man.
Absolutely, man. And you got a unique perspective here, man. You bring a very unique perspective to the table.
Yeah.
As a licensed funeral director, what was your first reaction when you heard about how the body was handled?
I all I heard was that the first thing I heard that when they received the body for the second autopsy in DC, that the body was face down. I don't know if there's any truth to that or anything like that, but that's a disturbing thing to hear. I don't know if that was done purposely, if he was flown to DC or whatever the case may be. Things can happen, en route. So we don't know, but that was kind of that was strange. But when it was understood that the people who are, or the medical examiner that was receiving the body of Nolan Wells for the second examination, when they were saying that they did not have all of his body parts, that was like, okay, that raised the eyebrow to me, because never in my professional history, as a mortician, have I ever received a body post autopsy and they didn't have, all the body parts. The proceedings, what the protocol is this: if a person in the state, usually most states, the rule is, if you pass away from a gunshot wound or a car accident, you automatically have to get an autopsy.
What if the family don't want one?
Well, the family then the family does have to say so, to say, we don't want one, or whatever the case may be, and they can kind of veto it. They can kind of, I have seen certain circumstances like that, but under most circumstances, it's like, because of, like, let's say if a person passes away from a car accident, or they've been in a car accident and the person ends up deceased, for insurance purposes, you start thinking about these big insurance companies. The companies want to know, did this person actually pass away from this car accident, or did something happen? They could have passed away from a heart attack that could have taken their lives, and that could have caused the car accident. You never know. If they don't do autopsy, they say, okay, it was a car accident, but there's a bullet hole in the driver door. So this person could have been shot, and them being shot led to the car accident. You see what I'm saying? Or if they committed suicide and then the car plowed through the light. Like, it's so many different, you know what I mean? Like, you see so many different things as to why, under certain circumstances, a autopsy is mandatory behind certain types of death, because they need to know this for legal purposes, for insurance purposes, and things like that. You know what I mean? It may look like a car accident victim when in actuality they're a murder victim. You know what I mean? Somebody, they need to be looking for a suspect. See, people don't think about things like this. And then if somebody is to be, like, if something happens, somebody gets shot, they need to know, it may be more than one bullet. You know what I mean? It's like you got one bullet in a lung and another bullet in the heart. So it's like, all right, do we need to be looking for two different suspects, or, was it self-inflicted? They have to look for certain things. But nonetheless, after all of that is done, after all of the examination is done by the medical examiner, All of the body parts are placed in a biohazard bag and sent to the funeral home, or sent to the next medical examiner for a second autopsy or second examination. And I'm not pointing the fingers at anybody. I'm just telling you what the protocol is. So it doesn't make sense to me that you would send a body to have a second autopsy done when you don't have all of the parts, because it's bound to come inconclusive when you don't have all of the, everything that you need to examine.
Okay,
Even if you're saying, okay, well, we had to do further examination. What I've always seen is when you have to do further, okay, we did one and we have to do further examination. Okay, well, then we have to wait until the examination is 100% complete. Then you send him off. That's right. What I've always seen. I'm not saying what's right, what's wrong. I'm saying this is the standard procedure of what I've always seen.
So you're saying essentially here that it is highly unusual for an independent examiner to receive a body without all of its tissues and organs.
Yeah, that's unusual. I mean, under certain circumstances, it can happen, but very rarely, very extremely rarely do you see that, because it's like, how are you going to come up with how can you can't, like, it's too many holes. Like, how am I going? Of course, the autopsy is going to come up inconclusive because we don't have everything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So in your opinion, when you have missing organs, it greatly affects the second opinion.
Absolutely. And I would go as far as to say this, though, that because the liability of everything is so high, there's a strong chance. Well, I would hope that was not done without the family's consent.
I was just about to ask you that.
Yeah,
I was just about to ask you, should the family had been warned, should they had been told what exactly what was going to be included in the second exam, like, should they have been told that, hey, we got the body, but we sending it back without the lungs and the throat?
Well, in this case, what a lot of people don't realize is that the family has a lot of say-so in that, because just as a medical examiner, you are in physical custody of the body, but the family, the next of kin, which would be his parents, you can't really do anything with him without their permission. Like, as far as sending him somewhere, like when somebody passes away, the coroner or medical examiner or whatever, when they ask you what funeral home do you want to use, the family has to say, well, this is the funeral home we want to use. And then the funeral home is contacted. You can't just send a body somewhere without the family's permission. You can't, like, if somebody's a company is there that they want to ask, can we take organs? Can you donate? Or you can't take anything or do anything without the family's permission.
Right.
So to my understanding and to my knowledge and my experience, when you have somebody, especially under such it's a hot light, you know what I mean, in the public eye, you got to dot your I's and cross your T's. If you're sending somebody and saying, hey, look, well, we need to keep these body parts in order to do further examinations, okay, the family needs to be informed beforehand. I'm not saying that they weren't. I'm saying that the protocol is there needs to be phone calls made. Hey, to his parents, let's get them on the phone, have them make sure that there's a clear understanding that we need to do some further examinations to X, Y, and Z. How do you want to proceed? This may take a couple of weeks. Now, somebody on his family side may have said, okay, well, look, we want to have a service for him. So we're going to have this service, and you'll send the body up here for, an examination, and then we'll handle everything else once you finish doing what you do. But that rarely happens, because you're talking about somebody's child, somebody's loved one. How many parents do you think would say, send my child's body up here and you got other organs over there?
Mm-hmm.
With there already being suspicious of thinking the reason they're having a second examination is because they don't trust the people down there in the first place.
Right.
So I mean, like, I don't know what was, who gave permission to do what. I'm just saying that as far as right now, it's kind of out of protocol. Like, it's real weird. And I'm not saying anybody did anything. I'm not saying, because as far as we know, anything could have happened. Maybe nobody did anything. Maybe there wasn't a fight. Maybe there was an aneurysm. Maybe somebody.
Hell no! Somebody did something, man.
But see, but look,
it's something.
See,
Look,
I'm not saying somebody did or did not.
I'm saying somebody did something.
Yeah,
we're gonna get to the bottom of it. I got a 2-part question. Let's say you was the detective on the case, and you had to interview the original coroner and the medical examiner. What questions would you ask each?
I would ask him if did they examine any of the muscle tissue. I know one of the items that they supposedly kept was the throat. So some people were saying, well, hey, this guy was, they might have choked him, or they did it. So with all of that in mind, if you punch somebody or if you strangle somebody and they pass away, you're able to see the bruisings within the muscles. You know what I mean? So I would ask him, did you examine the muscles? Were those muscles damaged? Was anything in the throat damaged, or that indicated that something like that would have happened? And I'm saying I would ask those questions it can go either way, not to hinder or help. It's like, okay, if this theory of this young man possibly was somebody may have choked him, or if there was a fight or something like that, if you examined his neck, is that something that you saw? Did you see evidence of that? That would be something like, if there was a fight, did you see what about his hands? Did it look like he was fighting? Did it, any bruises on his face and the bruises on the inside of his body? I mean, was there any type of, anything ruptured? Just anything, what I mean? A bruise to the temple, anything. Was it anything that looked like, some type of damage that was inflicted on his body? That would have been one of the first things. Oh, and the outside too, what I mean? Was a chipped tooth? Was any skin under the nails? Did it look like it was any type of anything that struggle? Yeah, of any sign of any type of struggle at all. That would have been the first question,
And what about to the medical examiner?
Well, it would have been basically the same thing.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Same thing. Like, I mean, to the first and second, like, did you see any sign of any type of struggle? If you have, because if somebody passes away from drowning, let's just say it's drowned, was it water in the lungs when you found them? Because really now in the trial, you got to start dispelling theories. Because if somebody said, well, he may have fell over the boat and drowned, we heard that, right? So if there was no water in his lungs, that means he didn't drown. He couldn't have drowned if there's no water in his lungs. You know
Do
what I
you
mean?
think? Do you think it's possible for the family to still get the answers they're looking for under these circumstances?
It is possible, yeah, but I don't know. You're trying to keep a clear head, but it just seems like everybody's trying to CMA. You know what I mean? And to me, what drew the public suspicion was people started, making their social medias private, including one of the boys' mamas, you know what I'm saying, who was a judge, and everybody went and got lawyers. Me, the last thing on my mind would have been a lawyer. If my friend is missing, something happened to my friend, I ain't going to get no lawyer, and that's just me. That's how I feel about it, So I saw the some content creator, flew down there to talk to one of the guys or whatever, for whatever reason, and I kind of thought that was weird. I wondered why he didn't, speak to the parents of Nolan Wells. You know what I mean? Like, talk to his parents, and maybe he tried to, I don't know, but I'm just saying, it just seems, it does seem weird, But I personally am trying to kind of hold out a little bit of hope, like, let's just see what happens, but I don't know, but it is possible that you still can get, an actual authentic truth out of, to say what happened is possible.
Yeah. What do you think that the public's biggest misunderstanding about autopsies is?
Probably that they throw everything away. You know what I mean? Like, like they don't throw everything away. Like I said, when they examine everything, but everything is placed in a biohazard bag and given over, because this is still, in respect, this is still a human being. So we don't just start discarding stuff, and you can't just do what you want to do. There's strict parameters, of the law that you have to go by as a medical examiner, as a coroner, as a funeral director. There's certain things that you just have to do. So, but I don't know, man. I hate that it happened, but to me, and it's just me, if I was a friend of someone that passed away and I was there, or we were there, I would be as forthcoming as I possibly could. And I wouldn't hide, from the public. I wouldn't, to me, and that's just me and my thinking, I'm out in public. I've said things that people didn't like, and, people have said things to me, and I've had a couple people try to threaten me about some stuff, and, I hate, but that's cool, because I can get busy. I ain't worrying about that. But at the same time, I wouldn't hide. I would be I would go above and beyond to say, hey man, this is what I know. This is what happened to my knowledge, and that's my friend. I love him, I care about him, I care about his family, I care about, his people. So, and his reputation. So I wouldn't, as a friend, I would be selfless. If you pass away under whatever circumstances, now I'm more so concerned about defending your honor and making sure your loved ones get what they need, because I'm still here.
Well, that's what a friend would do. You dig? That's what a friend would do.
There you go, Willie.
Yeah. But man, look, I appreciate you coming on the show, man, and giving us that wisdom, man, and dropping that knowledge as you always do, man. Where are you going next, man? Where you at?
My next gig is gonna be August the 7th through the 9th in Indianapolis at Club Helium. And for those who don't believe me, let me let me say it. Not only am I a licensed funeral director and embalmer. Now, my degree is actually at my parents' house, but I do have because people will question your credentials real fast,
especially these days.
I had to go and grab that. This is a plaque that was given me when I was I graduated from Gupton Jones Mortuary School in Atlanta, Georgia. It's right there in Decatur. There where my transcripts are there. You know what I'm saying? My school picture and everything is sitting right up there.
I think the only reason why people question it, man, because you're a comedian, and we never know when comedians are being funny, just trying to be funny, or they're being truthful, So yeah, I can vouch for that family. He is a licensed funeral director and embalmer.
In the state of South Carolina and in Georgia and soon to be North Carolina. So, but yeah, man, I just, and like I said, it's not that, and let me be clear too, it's not that under certain situations that a medical examiner would never keep certain body parts, but the only time that I've ever heard of or only situation that would be common is when somebody passed away from an infectious disease.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And it's infectious or communicable, and this is a public hazard. This would be a problem for the public health, because the number one concern, especially as a funeral director, coroner, our number one thing is the public health.
What do they do?
Say what?
What do they do with the body parts when the investigation is totally complete, when the autopsy is totally complete, the case is closed, the family, the law enforcement is okay with the results, the family has accepted the results? What do they do with those body parts then?
Those body parts are preserved. I'm trying to say it, the right way. Preserved and placed back with the deceased, and placed in disposition, in final disposition, whether that be buried, entombed, cremated, whatever.
Well, how do they do that if the body, if somebody is, for example, Nolan Wells. Nolan Wells' body is buried, and they still have his body parts. So what do they do with those body parts? How are they going to, like?
That's a good question. That's
why discard, but how do they, So
that's a good question. That's why I was saying that it.
Say discard, not discard, but discard. How do they discard?
That's why I was saying it's an abnormal situation, because you buried somebody without all of the parts. Now, when they finish, maybe they will exhume him, which dig him up and place those parts back, with him, or they may do the second examination on those parts, and then the family may decide to cremate him or cremate those parts and say, hey, we'll keep this for ourselves. Now that I don't know. That is up to the discretion of the family.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? But it's up to them what they would do. But that's why I'm glad you asked that, because that's what I'm saying. It's an abnormal situation. I'm not saying anybody broke the law. I'm saying that this is that rarely happens. You know what I mean?
I'm saying somebody broke the law. It ain't anybody, because I'm with you on anybody. Anybody didn't break the law. Somebody broke the law, and we gonna get to the bottom of it. We ain't letting you uncivilized much rest. We gonna get to the bottom of it. We gonna smoke y'all out.
Right. Well, now see, the legal side of me trying to say, all right, well, let's just see what happens. But initially, I'm not even gonna lie. I was like, I'm like, somebody done did something wrong. Now I try to, you try to pull it back and try not to jump to conclusion, but I don't know. Another side of me is like, because you watch other people's actions. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
Because to me, finding an attorney would be the last thing on my mind if my friend is gone, bro.
I don't think anybody just jumping to conclusions. I think everybody walk right on into the conclusion. Ain't nobody got to jump. We walking right on into it. They led us into the conclusion. Like, look, man, anywhere you go in the world, 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah, they do.
In the world. Like, so ain't no you all of this stuff trying to act. I got you. You're a professional, so you got to keep it professional.
No, man.
I ain't got to keep it professional. I can keep it real. I can keep it 100, 1,000, and say without a doubt, banking on my lived experiences.
Yeah.
If I see this happening, if you move this way, if it looked like a duck, it walked like a duck, it quacked like a duck, it's a duck.
It's a duck. And that's why I'm saying, like, when you start talking about, if you just start asking questions, you know what I mean? And like I said, I don't know exactly what the facts are, but if the things I'm hearing are factual, then it's real crazy, because it's like, why'd y'all have his phone? Why'd y'all have his keys? You know, we need to be sounding the alarm. Like, if I go somewhere with you and then you end up saying, hey, man, I'm going to go off with somebody and I don't see you for hours, well, where you going without your phone? Even if you don't have service. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, service bad over here, but why would you just say, well, I'm just going to leave the phone on the book with everybody else, to where, I can't even in a place where it's a bad signal, you can get a distress call from a phone or something. You know what I mean? Like, I got a compass or something on this daggone thing to help me get where I'm going. Like, because most people don't even know this. When I first got out of college, man, the first job I ever got, I was a probation officer. And I'm saying you have to go through the academy. One of the things that the officer said, if you were stuck in the jungle, which one would you rather have? You want your sidearm or you want your walkie-talkie? And everybody was like, I want my sidearm. You can give me my gun. He said, no, you need your walkie-talkie. I need to be able to communicate. He said, I can call somebody to come get me.
With some guns, with some sidearms.
Yeah, I can tell them, hey, come get me and bring your sidearm. But if all I have is a sidearm, and once that's done, I'm done.
Yeah, you're gonna run out of bullets. Yeah, you're gonna run out of ammo.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know, man. And as attached as these young kids are, you tell he's 19. The average 19 is glued to the phone. They ain't going nowhere without that. Without their phone. So I mean, it's on the side of me that is not professional is like you raise the eyebrow, but. I just said, let me pull back. Let me see. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. I don't know. But as far as the protocol of handling the body, yeah, that is out of the standard procedure. It is outside of standard procedure.
Outside of standard procedure. We're talking to you, Bruce Lynn Jr., the coroner. We're talking to you, Stacy Turner, the medical examiner. We're talking to both of y'all. And anybody that don't like it, kick rocks.
I mean, and they, like I said, they may have their story together. You might, but I mean,
they got their story together. They always have their story together. Together.
Yeah.
Together. Yeah. They're always together with the story.
Yeah.
But we on y'all bumper, and we ain't letting this go. How about that?
Yeah.
Shula King, y'all. Shula King, ladies and gentlemen. Shula King.
Hey, man.
King.
I'm in here, man. Whenever you need me, bro, I'm here.
Absolutely.
All right.
No more talk.